Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In the last video we were working on the lower control arms on the Volvo, and we're sticking with the front suspension and we are working on the hubs. And you can see behind me, this is kind of what I've got envisaged for the front of this car. So these wheels are actually off my Audi S4. If you're new to the channel, I am also building another car that's been sidelined for this project because this one needs to get done, and it's a B5 Audi S4 with a Saab engine, rear-wheel drive Saudi. That's where the name came from. Anyway, so the plan is to run full slicks from a BTCC touring car. And obviously, I've got to make the wheels fit as well. So these are 5 stud 5x112. If you're familiar with the S40, it's a 4 stud 4x114. So I've got to convert the front and rear hubs to match. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing in this video. So we started off with something very similar to this. This is off of the donor S40, which this engine came out of. And take no notice of all the holes in the front there. That was just me messing around. But yeah, they were looking fairly crusty. So I've had the front bearings pressed out, left with the hub face, the flange, and also I've given these a bit of a wire brush down and chucked a bit of paint on them so they look a little bit nicer than that. I've skipped ahead a little bit, and here is one I've done earlier. So that is a wheel spacer 5x112, which is pretty good for a template and making sure everything lines up. And as you can see, it fits onto this hub pretty much perfectly. So yeah, that is one hub that I've already done. I went ahead and did that because I wanted to make sure what I was planning on doing was going to work first before I spent a lot of time filming and found out that it wasn't going to work at all. And I'll be honest, it didn't work out perfectly first time, so hopefully the second time round works a little bit better. I have changed a couple of methods on how I'm doing this, so yeah, hopefully things work out for this hub here. Right, so I know there are several ways to do this properly, none of which are going to be shown in this video. The way that I've done this is basically use the discs which were originally from a Mercedes, which are 5x112, and using that as my template for drilling this. I've already got a lathe, so I could have just got a dividing head and attached it to the bed and done it quite accurately that way, but I've proven already the way that I'm doing this is good enough. I only need to do 2 hub faces. The rear is going to be a different story, which I'll get onto maybe later in this video or probably in the next video. And I'm quite happy with how I'm doing it. It's fairly quick and plenty accurate enough for what I need this to be. So this already fits perfectly on the centre of the hub. It just so happens that the Mercedes discs that I'm using with my brake conversion has the same centre bore as these hubs, so there's no movement in there at all, so I know that is central. So this had 5 holes in it, which were 5x112, which is exactly what I'm after, and I basically need to use those as a guide to re-drill the hub flange, but I need to make sure that I'm drilling exactly in the centre of the holes and perpendicular to the hub face, basically straight. I don't want these to go in sideways because I'm going to use some knock-in studs, and if they're not straight then these are going to be all over the place like a dog's dick. Anyway, so the method I've come up with is I've made this on the lathe, and this fits into the holes on the disc really snug. It's basically got to be tapped in. This face here, which is nice and flat and parallel to the hub face, and it's got a 4mm hole straight through the centre, which this drill bit will pass through, and that is going to essentially be my guide to make sure that that goes through the centre of the hole and is perpendicular to the hub face. So yeah, that fits in to there, just gets knocked down, and then that can go straight through there. Now I will have to drill this with a handheld drill. Unfortunately my pillar drill is not big enough because the disc is in the way, but this is basically just going to locate the centre points of each one of the 4 extra holes that I need to drill in this. Now I've said 4 because I'm going to reuse one of the existing holes in the hub. With the PCD of my old hub being 4x114 and the PCD that I want to achieve is 5x112, the radial difference between the new hole and the old hole is only 1.2 mil. And where I've got to drill out the holes from M12 to suit this M14 stud, I've got scope to make the hole bigger, slightly offset, and for that to work perfectly. So far, it sounds quite simple, and it is relatively simple, it just needs to be accurate. But there is another challenge faced with these hubs, and I'll show you that now. So these are the 4 original holes that had the M12 studs, and you can see there's 4 extra holes here, which is a bit of a pain because if I drop this on here, so that's how I had it before, with these 4 holes being used. So I basically re-drilled this disc to match my 114 PCD. Now I want to use these holes here and that 5th one there. When I rotate this round, there always is an interruption. No matter where I put it, there's a hole being interrupted. So I've got to fill at least 2 of those holes to make this work. If I reuse this hole, drill there, here and here, there are 2 holes interrupting the holes that I want to drill. And if I mark those up, you can see that they are those 2 holes there. So I basically need to fill those. But what I didn't want to do is just fill it with weld, because the weld tends to be harder than the parent material. When I then try and re-drill these, it can make the drill bit wander when it hits the harder weld. So fill them with something of a similar hardness to this so that the drill goes straight through it without wandering about. So you might be able to see here on the hub that I've already done what I'm talking about, and essentially what I've done is re-drilled the hole a fraction bigger so it's nice and clean material. Got a piece of steel like this which fits in the hole very, very snugly. Got to press it in there so it's in there nice and tight, and then I weld the back side of it. So this has been given a quick coat of paint, but you can just about see in there there's a bit of a weld there and there, holding those bits in. But it goes in there so tightly and so well, I probably don't even need to weld it, because I actually put these in, and before I weld it, I drill the holes. They don't move at all. There's no chance of those things coming out. Anyway, I'm going to get these drilled out, get these holes filled, and then chuck it in the lathe, face it off so it's nice and flat, and then yeah, go from there. Okay, so far so good. I've got 4 studs in. I've only lightly pressed them in because, well, I haven't got a press. I've been using the vise and I don't want to wreck it, and well, in fact I do have a press. I made one yesterday, but it's not here, but you'll see that in another video. I don't know whether it's going to be released before or after this video, but I do have a press now because I've made one. Anyway, so you're probably wondering why I've only done 4 so far. It's this 5th one here, which is an original hole, which I have to essentially move down and make slightly bigger. So yeah, if I had a milling machine, it would be nice and easy, or I could probably do it on lathe if I had a dividing head. But it's difficult to do it with a drill bit because it will want to follow this hole. It'll basically use that as a guide, center itself, and just go straight through the middle of it. Open it up, which I want, but it wouldn't be on the correct PCD. So the only way that I think that I can do this is just using a Dremel. I know that sounds a little bit dodgy and not very accurate, but I'll use the disc as a guide like I have already and basically take out the little bit that I need. So when the disc goes on there, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The disc drilling for my PCD is actually for a M12 bolts. I'll open them up to 14.5mm, so they will fit over here. It's actually the same drill bit I've used to drill the hub. That'll slot straight on there, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So there you go, disc is drilled out, and I've just put some nuts on there so this isn't moving on the hub, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about just there. I just need to take off that material on the hub, and then the stud should press straight through the middle of that and into the disc and all be aligned, and that is my 5x112 PCD. Marvellous. So there you go guys, that is 2 of 2 hubs drilled to 5x112 PCD. It didn't take very long with the die grinder to open that out, and then afterwards I did send the drill through it just to make sure it was like cleaned up and round, and then yeah, that went straight in. It's straight through the middle of the hole in the disc, and as you can see the spacer just slips straight on, no hassle at all. Really happy with how that one's turned out. The first hub caused me no end of issues just with accuracy. Second one, no issues whatsoever. So yeah, really happy with that, and looking forward to getting to the press tomorrow, getting those studs pressed in properly, and then getting the hubs pressed into the bearings, and then that onto the car with the wide wheels. So yeah, I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Well hey, so my DIY press worked, and I've got the bearings in, and I've also got these bushings in from the previous video. Right, so we're flying along now. The hubs are ready to go back on the car. I've got the bushings to go onto the front control arms. Subframe is just down there. Gonna get the bushes on, gonna get the subframe onto the car. Got the anti-roll bar to go on. I've got some new polyurethane bushes for that, so I'll get those in as well. Get the hubs on the car, and yeah, bought some big wheels to it, and because it's on the lift, I'm gonna lower it to the ground and see how it looks, and then I'll probably stand around and look at it for the next hour after that, and probably wonder how I'm actually gonna turn the thing because the arches are too small. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Hopefully it all fits. So there's lots to do and not a lot of time to do it, so I'm gonna crack on. Time lapse. Well guys, they're on, and they look pretty insane on this car actually. It's not going to be without its issues. I can see that it's going to be rubbing pretty much everywhere, but I was kind of prepared for that. There's a few things that I know that I can do to make a bit more clearance for them. I might also have to space them out a little bit, which will obviously make the car even wider. But basically, where these are so wide and where the camber is adjusted on the hub at the moment, it brings the top of the tyre and rubs on the inside of the coilovers. So yeah, if I space them out, it'll give me a little bit more room there, so I can put a bit more negative camber on the car, which I think it will definitely need with these slicks on. I have to say, this has been so much work. I mean, it's fairly quick in the video, and to be fair, filming wise, I've done the one hub relatively quickly. It's been a matter of 2, 3, maybe 4 days getting this done. But in reality, it's been years in the planning, lots of late nights trying to figure out how this is going to work, researching what fits, what doesn't fit. And I mean, I'll give you an example. Obviously, it's got Evo 6 Tommy Mackinnon lower control arms. It's got Civic lower ball joints. The discs are off a Mercedes. Calipers are off an Alfa. The wheel studs are from a Clio. I don't know what else. I mean, the tyres are from a British touring car. Yeah, the list is endless, and that's just basically on the front suspension. I mean, the coilovers are from an Evo 7 as well, and it all bolts to my little Volvo. Now, I haven't done the rears yet. That'll be in the next episode. I need to go to bed. I am absolutely shattered from this. I mean, since the new year, I've been out here most nights, probably gone midnight. The time now is 11 minutes past midnight. And I mean, that's not even a particularly late one. I've been out here, gone past 1 o'clock, and then I'm supposed to be at the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, lots of time being put into this. I'm shattered. I'm going to go to bed. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.